So for anyone who was unaware, last week was CES 2019, or the Consumer Electronics Show, where manufacturers, product designers, and new startup companies get a chance to showcase their new technology coming up this year, or stuff that's going to be coming out in the future. It takes place in Las Vegas. Don't feel bad for me that I didn't get to go, because, you know, I got to stay here with the lovely English weather. So now that the event is finished, I just wanted to take this opportunity to pick out some of my favorite things of CES 2019. And we're going to start off big with the Nexus Electric Hybrid Air Taxi by a company called Bell. Anyone who was at the actual show would have found this difficult to miss. It's a giant helicopter which was in the North Hall of CES. Essentially, it's a concept idea for an air taxi which could be coming sometime, they think, around maybe 2020. At the moment, it sits 4 people plus room for a driver, but they do have plans to eventually make this autonomous. A top speed of 150 miles an hour with a range of 150 miles as well. And as I mentioned, they're looking to conduct some test flights as soon as 2020. Now, Bell is actually an aircraft manufacturer which is partnered with Uber, and Uber coincidentally have said that they also wanted to offer air travel by 2020. So the two match up very nicely. Very excited for stuff like this to come. You know, you call an Uber, instead of, 9 times out of 10, it's going to be a Prius. If I see a Prius, I jump in it automatically, thinking it's my Uber. A couple of times it's been awkward. Sorry, you're just driving a Prius, didn't realize. But can you imagine that? Calling an Uber, having this thing land, having it be autonomous as well. No awkward conversation. Maybe you won't get your shiny little bottle of water, but very excited for this one. Next, an exciting announcement from Nvidia not too long after the release of their GTX 2080 and 2080 Ti cards. They announced a mid-range level, the GTX 2060, coming in at a favorable $349. Now, what's massive about this is, for a mid-range card, it actually still includes real-time ray tracing on games like Battlefield 5. The GTX 2060 will be a 6GB GDDR6 graphics card, and the performance will sit somewhere between a GTX 1070 Ti and a GTX 1080. So as I said, very mid-level, but new generation of card for a very reasonable price. Next for me on my list is a computer monitor, but it's not the Razer Raptor lit up with its sexy RGB. For me, it's the Samsung Space Monitor, just because it's development in innovation. So the Samsung Space Monitor uses this clever hinge system where it can be pushed flush against the wall when you're not using it. And they say by doing this, you can save up to 40% of your desk space, leaving lots of room for more RGB stuff. The Samsung Space Monitor will be available in a 27-inch 1440p resolution or 32-inch in 4K. Something like this where it can be pulled down to rest on the desk at kind of like a canvas kind of angle. It's going to be great for maybe graphics designers, editors, artists, and although this thing should be fine for gaming, I would say it's not specifically targeted at gamers. Specifically the fact it's only 60 Hz refresh rate, 250 nits of brightness. It's not, the brightest thing out there, and a 4 millisecond response time. Not bad, but if you're going pro gaming, looking at something like the Raptor, maybe more suited. But in terms of price, we're looking at $400 for the 27-inch version and $500 for the 32-inch version, available to pre-order on Amazon right now, with a release date of the 23rd of February. Next, maybe something that didn't make as big a splash at CES as we were expecting, but some interesting developments, was 5G. So even though 5G is something that we're not expecting to be readily available in sort of every area until around about 2020, 2019 seems to be the year of phones with 5G capability. Specifically looking at the Samsung Galaxy S10, the Huawei Mate 30, the OnePlus 7 or OnePlus 7T, the Honor 5G phone, the Sony Xperia XZ4, and no doubt, Apple will do something this year. Now, the exciting thing that comes with developments in 5G comes with the other areas that it supports, such as AR, VR, and mobile gaming. With 5G speeds looking to be up to 20 times the speed of 4G, it means on the go, you should be able to do things like download a film in seconds, download a game, play games online without any interference. But some of the interesting thing Qualcomm was showing us at CES 2019 was streaming a video to a VR headset over 5G with zero latency, lag, buffering, anything like that. The thing that excites me about 5G, specifically for myself as a user of the Shadow Cloud gaming PC, so there it is, found it. We have the ability to stream your cloud gaming PC, not just to like a base unit or existing laptop, but to a phone, an iPad, pretty much any mobile device that has a screen and connects to the internet. Something like this where you can take it outside of the reach of Wi-Fi and just use it on the streets at perfect speeds, perfect gaming quality. It's going to be a massive revolution. Next on my list is going to seem like a strange one. It's the Impossible Burger. And you're thinking, Mark, that's not tech. Well, they made it in a lab, so it counts. And Impossible actually walked away with an innovation award at CES 2019, so I think it's fair to say that it counts. The Impossible Burger is a completely meatless, vegan-friendly burger, which they've pretty much got as close to beef as you can get by basically reverse engineering beef and figuring out how to make it artificially with vegetable ingredients. Impossible see this as a sustainable meat substitute. The company's goal is to make meatless products which taste so close to the real thing that we can actually get away from using animal products by 2035. The Impossible Burger isn't a new thing. This is the Impossible Burger 2.0 that they showcased at CES 2019. The Impossible Burger 1.0 has been around for about a year, and it's already used in well-known gourmet restaurants as well as fast food chains such as White Castle. In fact, at CES in Las Vegas, you could walk down to a White Castle and pick up an Impossible slider. However, the Impossible Burger 2.0 has improved flavor, textures, nutritional profile, lower calories, better quality protein, lower fat, lower saturated fats, lower salts, and it's gluten-free, and it's not made from ground up cow carcass. So what's not to love? Have I ever mentioned I'm vegetarian on the channel? It's hard to believe because it's not the first thing I say when I meet people, but the Impossible Burger 2.0 was able to go gluten-free by swapping from its 1.0 version, which was made of a wheat-based protein, to a soya-based protein. Real soy boy. The Impossible Burger will be available only in the US from around about February this year, and also with its popularity, with the improvements that they've made, no doubt it will find its way into more restaurants, more fast food chains in the coming years. Next on my list is a gaming laptop, and although there was a plethora of these at CES 2019, the winner for me has to be the Alienware Area 51M, essentially fixing one of the biggest problems with gaming laptops, the fact that all of the pieces were so specialist, were locked into place in a chassis that you couldn't open, so nothing could be upgraded. Essentially, if something broke or if something slowed down over time and you wanted to improve it, your options were, we'll get a new one. However, the Alienware Area 51M is the first fully upgradable gaming laptop where you're able to actually swap out the SSD, RAM, CPU, and GPU, which you can kind of tell from the size of it, are all actually using desktop components in this somewhat portable laptop. I say somewhat. You'll have to be strong to carry it around. In terms of spec, it looks like the very top model of the Area 51M laptop will have an octa-core Intel Core i9 9900K processor, an NVIDIA RTX 2080 graphics card, 64 gigs of DDR4 memory, and options for 3 different storage drives, with the top end being a 232 gig Intel Optane SSD storage, plus a 1TB hybrid drive. All of that sits beneath an FHD display with 144Hz refresh rate, with NVIDIA G-Sync and Tobii eye tracking technology. All models of the 51M will use Alienware's advanced cryotech cooling technology to keep this monster cool, although you can kind of tell from the size of the fans on the back, it's still probably going to kick out some heat, some noise, but they made it look pretty with RGB, so that's cool. In fact, it's such a powerhouse that it actually requires 2 different DC inputs to run when you plug it into the wall. Although that was a top-end spec, they're saying that customization is available with an entry level of around about $2,000. And it's set to be released on January 29th, 2019. Which brings me to the #1 spot on my list, and of course it has to be the Soldier Boy games console. No, not really. #1 for me, the LG Signature 65-inch OLED Rollable TV. Rollable. It disappears. This is essentially the world's first rollable TV from LG. They said it's good for 50,000 rolls and unrolls, which essentially means you could roll it up and down 4 times a day for the next 34 years. You know, if you had nothing better to do. It's housed in this metal kind of cloth stand. Comes with it, is not optional because it houses all of the components, the electronics, the motors for rolling it up and down, but also stores a 4.2 channel 100-watt front-firing Dolby Atmos speaker. The screen itself contains LG's 2nd Gen Alpha 9 processor, which includes deep learning algorithms and ambient light detection, which essentially means you turn it on a bright day with all the curtains open and everything, it's going to adjust its brightness, and you come in steaming drunk at 2 AM with all the lights off, it's going to dim it down so it won't hurt your drunk eyes. As well as that, the LG Rollable TV will also be equipped with Amazon Alexa, Google Assistant, and LG's own onboard assistant, which means of any of the three, you can actually roll and unroll this thing with just your voice. As well as extending out to a full 65-inch, it can actually be partially unrolled into 6 different options, which LG have called music, clock, frame, mood, lighting, and home dashboard. Essentially partially unrolled, you'll be able to have music, different home widgets, different apps which you can install. The clock feature is going to be handy because it will show people how many hours they've wasted sat in front of it, rolling and unrolling it. Just looks like fun, okay? Unfortunately with this one, no word of release date, no word of price, but we can guarantee it's gonna be expensive. It's a lot. It's not cheap. Thing rolls, okay? But as well as just the latest and greatest at CES 2019, you always get the weird, the wonderful, just the straight up bad. So let's talk about a couple of those from this year. Firstly, something I made a video on previously, the FlexPi Royale, the world's first foldable phone. The more people got their hands on this thing and the more footage that became available since their first press release, the more I dislike it. Essentially, when it's being folded inwards and outwards, when it's being rotated, the speed at which it does it, the fluidity, there's just something not right about it. It looks terrible. It kind of gets pixelated, squared, freezes, and then moves into the position it's supposed to be in. Every time it's folded, it looks like that middle bit is just gonna snap. And that being the case, the fact that it doesn't fold flush, just I guarantee as soon as this thing comes out, people put it in their pockets and start like sitting down on a train or something, these things are gonna snap. That being the case, it makes it a very interesting one to watch this year. Next is this creepy little guy from a company called Groove X. It's the Lovart, which is a love robot. Let that just sink in for a second. Essentially, this is an AI pet robot that gives warm hugs, has a 360-degree camera on top so it can map the room that it's in and not bump into walls and stuff. Built-in AI can actually recognize up to 1,000 faces, but that's all it does. It rolls around and wants a hug. Essentially, the way robotics and AI and stuff is supposed to be heading is that it should help us out in daily life and make things easier. Whereas even Groove X himself has said that the thing begs for attention and gets in the way of those who it lives with. As well as that, let's just quickly talk about the price, which is set to be around about 5,000 to 6,000. Because it will come in a pack of 2, you will get 2 of them which can interact with each other. I guess at least one of them can keep the other one company. They'll have charging docks which they'll be able to mount themselves to on their own when they start to run out of battery. But for anyone who kind of finds this interesting, I would say get a dog. And the last thing we're going to talk about of CES 2019 is a little bit of controversy, and it comes in the shape of a penis. No, really. It's from a manufacturer called Laura DiCarlo. That Dick Hot. I don't think it's a play on word, I think it's somebody's name. This device is called the OSE. Maybe it will have you screaming out the national anthem, I don't know. But their company brought this to CES 2019 and put it into the robotics and drone product category, of which it actually won an innovation award, which CES 2019 then promptly took away. Laura DiCarlo have said, our almost entirely female team of engineers is developing new micro-robotic technology that mimics all of the sensations of a human mouth, tongue, and fingers for an experience that feels just like a real partner. However, CES 2019 took away their innovation award, stating the product does not fit into any of our existing product categories and should not have been accepted for the Innovation Awards program. Laura DiCarlo have said that they see this as another backward step in the technology industry, which they already see as relatively sexist and misogynist, with last year's CES keynote speakers panel being formed entirely of men. But that's my list of CES 2019. Obviously you may have your own, and I'd be interested to see what that is. What do you think was the top, and what do you think was the flop of CES 2019? Let me know in the comments down below. If you agreed with some of my options, maybe give the video a like. If you haven't already, remember to subscribe to the channel, and as always, I shall see you in the next one.